Hi guys, how we doing? Thanks for joining me once again for another set of stories right here on Thailand Bound. Now, a lot of you wrote into me the last week or so saying that you really enjoyed the one long story that I read out over a couple of weeks. So different stories, but there was only one each week. Now, I also enjoyed those longer stories because you can really get into them. You can kind of build a picture in your head, can't you? But the problem is I can only read out what's sent in. And this week I've got 5 stories for you because they're all brand new to my channel, but they are shorter stories. I like to keep the upload time around 30 minutes, and I feel that's a good time for the stories. So it's taken 5 to get to that 30-minute upload, or a little bit longer this week. But I hope you're going to enjoy these brand new stories, never been read out on my channel before. So as always, let's not mess about. Let's get into the first of 5 stories today, and I hope you're going to enjoy listening to these.
สวัสดีค่ะ
I enjoy the stories on your channel, and like many of your listeners, would love to help out the love-blind tourists that have found themselves in predicaments with devious Thai women. So, although my own relationship story may be quite boring to many listeners, I think it may be beneficial to others in its normality. I love Thailand and have been visiting for over 20 years, ever since falling in love with the place when I first took a long holiday with my friends at aged 18. When I was about 25 and backpacking, I found myself living in New Zealand and missing Thailand. When, on a night out, I met a nice Thai girl. Her name was Pat. She was working and studying in New Zealand. We exchanged numbers and in the following months got to know each other. During the initial dating, I often wondered if she was even interested in a romantic relationship with me, as we hung out just as friends and lived fairly separate lives. Her studying and hanging out with her school friends, and I working and partying with my backpacker friends. Her a very nice, hard-working, fairly serious person, and like most Thais, very clean and tidy and immaculately dressed. And me, a grubby backpacker. But eventually, we settled our differences and entered into a romantic relationship and lived happily in New Zealand for a few years. When my visas and time in New Zealand ended, I returned to my home country, and Pat and I had a tedious, strained long-distance relationship, which, as I'm sure many of your listeners will know, it's not fun. To cut a long story short, Pat moved back to Chiang Mai and she landed a good job, and I followed sometime after, where we agreed to reside and have a life together. Regarding the financial side of things, which seems to play such a big role in many of the relationship stories shared, meeting in New Zealand, we didn't know each other's backgrounds, but we both happened to come from moderately well-off backgrounds. So I've never been asked for money. We give each other gifts and surprises like any relationship. That is not to say I would be against sharing financial family burdens with my partner if I felt the relationship was serious and without doubts. My wife works very hard and gives money to her parents when she can, even if they don't particularly need it. More of a show of respect and love, which is pretty standard in Thailand. In all wealth classes, the money flows up as a sign of gratitude to your parents, unlike in the West, where the money often flows down from parents to spoilt kids like me. Anyway, I moved to Chiang Mai and we continued our relationship. I would often stay at Pat's parents' house and would always sleep in a separate room, as Pat and I were not married and her parents are somewhat strict, or rather very traditional, like many Thai families. Soon enough, we decided to get married, so we went to the registry office and signed marriage documents, which was a very straightforward, speedy process. We decided one day we might have a wedding celebration if friends and family from both sides could be present. I remember I asked what her family's views were on dowries out of curiosity, and she said it wasn't really done anymore and that parents would put a pretend dowry on the wedding table, a big wad of cash, basically out of tradition and for show for the guests, but wouldn't involve me. My wife found and secured me a job in Chiang Mai, and any issues in Thailand I have are resolved by my wife, from tedious forms, annoying taxi drivers, or tricky traffic police. I just hand them the phone to speak to my wife and she will fix it. She looks after me and is a considerate person. I am, of course, very lucky to have her. Relationships are hard enough as it is, so finding a challenging partner just adds to the stress. If you find yourself in a relationship where there seem to be any made-up stories, unanswered questions, doubts, excuses, secrets, guarded phones, outrageous demands, strange friends, secret history, etc., then in my opinion, that lacks the basic principles of a relationship. I hear so many crash and burn stories and understand that it is extremely hard to break up with someone that you have feelings for, especially in this day and age when you know they are at the end of a phone and you can reach out and reconcile anytime. But I hear so many stories that could be avoided if the red flags are taken into account. Just break up and move on. You don't owe anybody anything. You and whoever you break up with will be okay much sooner than you think. There are lots of good people out there, and when the couple of weeks of unavoidable, agonizing heartbreak, worry and jealousy wear off, you will be back in control and in a healthy position to make the right choice in future. I can promise you that. You just have to rip the band-aid off quickly rather than slowly drawing out an already doomed relationship. And that's the end of this story. So quite interesting there. Now, one thing I'd like to talk about is the dowry. Guys who have had relationships with bar girls who are basically getting scammed, you know, girls who pretend that they're in love with the guy takes her at the bar, they go through this wedding ceremony up in the village, wherever. And there's always this issue of the dowry. You know, the bar girl will say, you know, you have to give me a dowry, a big dowry, so I get face in my village. And they're asking for stupid amounts, you know, 1 million baht, 2 million baht. Well, in fact, a dowry is only normally paid to a woman who is getting married for the first time. And now in modern Thailand, it's getting rarer and rarer. Like this guy says, what normally happens, because of tradition, the family of the girl will get as much money together as they can, and they'll put that on the table for all the wedding guests to see. And as soon as the ceremony is over, they take back that money. It's just a kind of face thing, tradition, as I say. But, you know, if you ever get into a relationship with a Thai girl, especially one who's been married before, or she's had kids, or she's out of a bar, you know, when they're asking for that outrageous dowry, just walk away. Like this guy says, you know, the sooner you can get away and get on the mend, you can meet somebody much nicer. Right, let's get into the second of 5 stories today. I have been listening to your stories for many years as a source of entertainment. I also hear your helpful advice on many matters Thai visitors have to face, and you have saved me a lot of hassle. I am not a good writer, but I feel I have to share my story. I am from the Mediterranean and had been visiting Thailand for many years with my wife, as we both love the lifestyle, the food, the culture and the people. We have gone to Chiang Mai a few times, as well as all the main seaside resorts. I am very happily married and never stayed, despite a few opportunities coming my way over the years. I am 54 and my wife is 42. This year, my wife's childhood friend was getting married, and a group of 5 of them arranged to go on a pre-wedding hen party holiday to a Greek island for 5 days. My wife suggested I also book a trip at the same time, so I'm not on my own, as our 2 children have flown the nest and they're doing their own thing. I told her that I would book to go to either Dubai or Thailand for a week. I booked Thailand in the end and decided to stay in Jomtien and top up my tan. Do some reading and just sleep a lot, as I have rather a stressful job in the medical profession. Arriving at the hotel, I put my stuff in my room, had a shower and went in search of a cold beer. Went to a place my wife and I have been to before, a bar named after a famous writer, and had a couple of beers and then went in search of some food. I love Thai street food and never had any bad meals eating where the Thais also eat. I stopped at a small place near Soi 2 and ordered. A girl arrived and also ordered, but as she didn't sit down, I assumed she ordered as a takeaway. She was the most beautiful creature I've ever seen, taller than the average Thai girl, maybe 175 centimeters, and very elegant, classy, dressed in a very simple sundress with no visible makeup. She saw me staring at her and waved, saying something to the cook, to which they both laughed and also waved. When her food was ready, she came over and she typed on a translation app on her phone that I looked at her like I knew her. I said that obviously I didn't, but I was looking at her because she looked so elegant. Her name was Wang, and when asked, she said she was 29. She typed that she was thankful. I smiled and continued eating. She turned to leave and then turned back again, and she typed, "I am ladyboy." I was so shocked. Impossible. She couldn't be a ladyboy. I said to her that I did not believe her, and she produced her ID card, and sure enough, she was a he. I told her that she looked like a woman and that I was shocked. She came closer as if she would whisper something to my ear, but instead she kissed me. I was mortified as I did not expect it, but at the same time, I cannot lie that I was very aroused. Maybe it was her beauty. Maybe it was because I never strayed far from my marriage. Maybe it was because she was a ladyboy. I didn't know what it was. She said that she has to go to work at a bar, but if I wanted, she would come to my hotel for a drink in the evening. I told her that I wasn't sure what I would do in the evening, so she asked me for my number and sent me her Line ID. I already had Line installed as I'd used it a few times from previous trips for communication with travel agents, etc. After she left, all I could think about was her lips on mine, and that smell, her perfume. How could this woman be a man? She must have had the full surgery. I reasoned with myself. Gender is real, and of course a surgeon can recognize it and accept it. I went back to the hotel, and despite my best efforts, I could not hold back and messaged her to meet me for a drink. She replied over 1 hour later and said that I was to come at midnight and meet her at the top of Soi 2. I knew she worked on a bar, and being a Thailand-bound regular, I knew what that roughly meant, even if I did not partake myself in such nights out. When we met, she asked me for 500 baht that she needed to give to the bar so she could leave early. I also knew what that meant, just so your viewers don't think I was clueless. She came back and we started walking, and not exactly talking as her English was very poor, but using a translation app for some basic conversation. We decided to go back to my room, and my nerves and tension were really kicking in, as I've never been in that situation before. Fortunately, I am very self-assured, so I ploughed on, and having passed the awkward look of the concierge when we took her idea, we went upstairs and raided the minibar. I was looking for some Dutch courage, and fast. After a couple of drinks and an awkward silence on the balcony, she got up, took my hand and took me inside. I wanted to run but couldn't. I was hooked, and in reality, I wanted to see what was under that dress. Did she have surgery? Was she toying with me? And was she a woman after all? What was going on? She made me sit on the bed and stood in front of me and took off her dress and underwear. She had no surgery whatsoever, and although I was looking at a biological male, I was also looking at a woman, even if she had no surgeries. What followed was the most beautiful lovemaking I could ever wish for. I don't want to go into many details, but I was in heaven. She knew exactly what to do and how to do it. Aside from the added body part, she was a woman in all other respects. Next morning came and we had a beautiful breakfast and a relaxing time walking and finding out about each other. When evening came, she had to go back to her room to get ready for work. I offered to pay for her time the night before, but she refused and said that she had a beautiful time and she felt like a girlfriend. Still, I gave her 3,000 baht and insisted she took it. I didn't want her to leave, but I knew that if I saw her again, it would be trouble for me. She cried and said that she didn't want to go to the bar to work as she may have to flirt with other men, and to her that was cheating. I said that I understood and she did not need to worry as I would never judge her. We parted ways and I went for a walk. I was lost in my own world thinking about what had happened, about my wife, about Wang, and most of all, what it was like to make love to a ladyboy. Itching my way to Pattaya, I stopped at a small bar for a beer and got my phone out to do a little research. My stomach was aching with what I was researching. I could not stop myself. I had to find out if it was Wang who made me feel like this or whether it was because I was with a ladyboy. During my time with her, I assumed the male role and I was not even curious to explore further. But just like in my profession, I had to get to the root cause of all. Soi 6/1 in Pattaya is where the ladyboys hang out. What was my research pointed to there? I just had to find out. I ordered a beer and a Jack Daniels, downed both in double quick time, and off I went again. A short while later, I was at the top of Soi 6/1. The music coming from 6 was loud and people were milling around like bees. Soi 6/1 seemed quiet, and although I could see people in the distance, I could not make out who they were. I took a deep breath and I entered the Soi. Around 200 meters in, I encountered a very tall, athletic ladyboy. She was feminine enough, but very obviously a ladyboy and without the elegance of Wang. I can't deny that I was both scared and put off. I looked down and carried on walking, although she didn't even look at me. A little further on, another ladyboy waved at me. She was more female and had implants and a very kind smile. She came to me and asked me if I wanted to go to her room. On one hand, I really wanted to find out, and on the other, all I could think about was that I was cheating on Wang. What a stupid old fool I'd become. As if she could read my mind, she took my hand and started leading me up some dodgy metal stairs and to a small but tiny room with a thick mattress on the floor and low lighting. She asked me for 2,000 baht, which I gave her. I was frozen and mortified, and gone was the self-assured surgeon. She obviously sensed my discomfort and took my hand, placed it on her male parts and softly asked, "You like?" I was still frozen and had a mental block. I could not act or react. She slowly removed my trousers, but as I was frozen, could not take them off. She slowly encouraged me to lie down on the mattress and proceed to perform a kind of body-to-body massage, even though I was not fully naked, and neither was she. It was during the massage that I realized that she was aroused and she was rubbing on me. In stark contrast, I was not. She obviously noticed, and maybe her ego was hurt, or maybe she saw that as a challenge. She then sat up and proceeded to be as sensual, as erotic as she could be with her partner, was an expressionless zombie. I cannot lie and not admit that she did eventually get a response from me, and we both ended up being very satisfied. It left me with more questions than answers. I was frozen because I did not like being with a ladyboy, but because of Wang or some other unknown reason, it was time to reassess myself. I left Soi 6/1, got into a taxi and went back to Jomtien and Soi 2. I started searching the bars to find Wang. I never got the name of the bar. I saw her and my breath was taken away from me. How beautiful was this woman? I started walking towards her, and when she spotted me, she ran, hugged me. I gave her 500 baht and asked her to give it to the bar and come with me. She did. We went back to my hotel where we eventually slept in each other's arms. The next day, I got up early, made a coffee and turned on my laptop. I was about to make the most immature, childish, stupid thing, but my mind was made up. I was 54 and I wanted to do something for me. I calculated all my cash, investments, shares and crypto to be worth around 1 million euros, thanks largely to my inheritance from my parents and some shrewd savings policy. In addition, we had 5 properties that rented out to tourists in the summer, netting us an after-tax profit of around 80,000 per year and a value of around 750,000 euros. My children were set up for their beginning in life through their grandparents. As my wife was on her hen holiday and the time difference was in my favour, later in the day I contacted my lawyer and asked him to prepare all documents necessary to transfer my 50% ownership of all 5 properties as well as our house to my wife. Crypto and shares were in my name anyway, which I kept, and our cash investments I split 50-50. I contacted my broker to liquidate my shares. Crypto was not an issue, as my wife did not know about anyway, as she never took interest. All in all, I would be left with around 1.2 million, whereas she would be worth about 2. All this happened 6 months ago, and the fact that at the beginning of the story I use present tense to describe that I was married was on purpose to throw you off the scent. Wang and I live in Bang Saray, a beautiful beach village outside Pattaya. We are buying a small house with a pool, and we already have a car and a bike. Wang insisted that she would not be kept woman and is working at 7-Eleven earning minimum wage, but enough to keep her independent. She has already started her hormone therapy with a view to have her gender reassignment by 2027. Her English is also improving thanks to technology and a natural talent which she never knew she had. As for me, I am learning Thai and working full-time to do so, as it is the only way I can pass my Thai Medical Council exams and get my license. I will put my knowledge to good use in order to give back to the country that gifted me Wang. Wang comes from a city south of Pattaya. Her family are both honest, hard-working people who are not rich, but by no means are they poor. They have accepted me for who I am, just like they had accepted Wang. So far, they have not asked for anything from me, and on the contrary, every time we visit, they are generally insulted if I try to pay for anything. The house we are buying is in Wang's name, but with a 30-year lease from me and an ironclad agreement thanks to your and my lawyer's advice. My capital will shortly make its digital way to Singapore, where it will work for us, netting us a very comfortable living, while an amount will remain in Thailand and will be accessible by both Wang and me. Make no mistake, I tested Wang many times, and every time her honesty and genuine love for me amazes me. Occasionally, we go to Pattaya and go to her old bar, and all her ladyboy friends treat us like royalty, and again, never let us pay for anything. Wang is happy and shows it in so many ways, and the way she looks at me makes me melt. My wife took the news really well, and it transpired that while I was completely faithful up until Thailand, she wasn't, and a 5-year-old affair was revealed. The divorce is not finalised, but so far there are no real issues, as I was very fair, even if on hindsight I had known about the affair, I may have acted differently. Sometimes life has surprises when you least expect it. It is early days yet, but I have a good feeling about Wang and I. Wow, what a story. This is one of those stories I know is going to get a lot of comments from people, very brutal comments, you know. Personally, I don't have any judgment on these kind of stories. You know, I just read them out. But this is what happens. You know, sometimes guys come to Thailand, they're completely straight, they're married or they've got long-term partners, and for some reason they do fall in love with transgender ladyboys, and you know, good luck to them if they're all happy. If the ladyboy's happy and he's happy and they're not harming anybody else, okay, it's easy for people to throw comments around the internet, hide behind a computer screen and be judgmental, okay? But as I say, they're not hurting anybody. They're enjoying life. They're very happy together. Let them be. You know, I mean, that's good for them. Right, okay, we're jumping into the third of 5 stories today. I'm sitting here in my hotel room typing this story after witnessing what felt like the ending of one of the many tales told in your channel. I'd just been across the street at Terminal 21, patiently waiting for my drink at a shop on the 4th floor. Suddenly, a commotion broke out nearby. At first, I shrugged it off, thinking it was just an argument, but curiosity gnawed at me, and I walked over to see what was happening. What I encountered was more intense than I expected. A man in his 70s was embroiled in a fierce argument with a Thai woman. Without hesitation, I pulled out my phone to record, knowing that things could take a dangerous turn. Before I am judged for not stepping in to help and just recording, I'm not about to possibly get slashed with a knife over a domestic violence case. Plus, I saw 2 workers running to get some help. Having lived in Thailand before, I'd heard plenty of stories about situations like these and with locals involved. It's better not to step in and be a hero. As I filmed, a young man approached the struggling pair, trying to pry the older man off the woman. His efforts were in vain, and frustration etched across his face as he eventually gave up and walked away just as a security guard arrived. The older man was yelling accusations, claiming the woman had stolen a massive amount of money from him, 70,000 something. What struck me was how overwhelmed he appeared, completely consumed by anger and betrayal. In the chaos, the woman managed to slip away, but returned moments later, placing the man's phone on a bench, right in front of where I stood before sprinting off again. Watching this unfold live and in vivid colour flooded my mind with memories and reflections on the countless stories I had heard during my 10 years in Thailand. Though I've moved on, spending my last 3 holidays here since leaving 2017, my decade in the kingdom left a significant mark on my life. This incident made me ponder the often repeated question, how can men fall so deeply for these women? Why do they allow themselves to be cheated out of both money and dignity? While my personal experiences are limited, I feel compelled to share my thoughts and offer advice for those willing to listen. Throughout my years as a resident and later as merely a tourist in Thailand, I find myself in massage parlours and on 2 or 3 occasions experienced an emotional connection with some of the ladies I just met. I know it sounds crazy, but these women have a way of making you feel like you're the only man in the world. They're genuinely skilled at making you feel important, and I can understand why someone might fall head over heels in such a short time. It's easy to get swept up in the moment. I vividly remember one woman who stood out from the rest with an innocent appearance, an undeniable beauty. For a brief moment, I thought she could be girlfriend or even wife material, and yes, before you rolled your eyes, I did think to myself, she seems so different from the rest. But the realization hit me hard as the timer on her phone loudly went off, signaling our time had come to an end. I was snapped back into reality and rudely reminded that I was engaging in a transaction. I was merely paying for a service. Still, I can never criticize anyone for their feelings. However, it's crucial to be mindful of the red flags and the voices of friends who might warn you when something feels off. That's where many make significant mistakes, but that's not the main point of my story. I want to touch on how easily it is for a young man like I was in my mid-20s when I arrived and left in my mid-30s to overlook future planning. I came to Thailand with a lucrative job, a tempting prospect that allowed me to live a lifestyle I couldn't have dreamed of back home in my country. The advice I want to share isn't just about bar girls or relationships in general. It's about the necessity of planning for retirement. Regardless of your age, whether you're 25, 35, or even 45, it's essential to think about your future. I've watched fellow travelers and expats like you, Peter, thrive, and it's uplifting to see someone who has made it work. However, I carry some regrets, not about living in Thailand, but about my financial choices. In the end, it was not a bar girl or a massage girl that took all of my money. It was my own lack of financial planning. Living a lifestyle filled with cash can lead to careless spending, and it's alarmingly easy to be left with nothing at the end of the month. And in my case, 10 years later. So, to anyone working in the kingdom or planning to retire there, I urge you to be wise with your money. It doesn't last forever. Work hard, play hard, as they say, but definitely save even harder. Ultimately, this isn't just a cautionary tale, it's a reminder to plan for the future. No matter your circumstances, thank you for reading out my story. He's absolutely right. You know, when I was working in the hotels, I actually left, I didn't get a pension from the hotels, okay, so I'm going to be kind of relying on my old age pension from the UK. It kicks in this year in June. I have some property and I have, bits and pieces, so, I mean, that's not strictly true. I'm not going to be relying totally on my pension. But, you know, I hadn't paid in for a lot of years. I paid in enough to qualify to get a UK pension. But the amount was laughable. I mean, about 2 years ago, I looked it up on the government website and I was going to get about £158 a week, which is only about 6,000 to 7,000 baht a week, which is what, 28,000 baht a month. So in the UK, you're able to top that up to 7 years. And I sent over about £1,200, $1,400, and I got another 7 years. So now when it comes in, I'll get about, about £850 a month, which isn't a lot of money. It's about 38,000 baht a month. But something's better than nothing, isn't it? But like the guy says, you know, if you're a younger person, I wish I'd done the same. You know, I mean, I wasn't silly with money. I did, you know, I invested in some property and I've done other bits and pieces, but I could have done a lot more and I could have saved a lot harder. He's absolutely right. You know, when you want to come to Thailand, you've got to have that safety net of money. You know, I've seen so many guys, especially in Pattaya, they retire, they're on a limited budget, and they can't do what they used to do as tourists. You know, when they came out as tourists, you know, they'd be out with the girls, they'd be in the bars, they'd be ringing the bell, they'd have a great holiday, you know, because they had the money in their back pocket. And of course, when they come out and retire, because they're on a limited budget, they live the real life, you can't do all that. And it's very difficult to live in a place where you lived like a king and now you're living on a budget. So, I absolutely agree with him to put as much money away as possible. Right, let's go into story number 4. The next two stories are fairly short stories. I am a retired 68-year-old Australian male and I'm still active in many ways. I go to Thailand once a year as I visit my son who lives in Bangkok. I also have a lovely girlfriend, 50 years of age, who is a hairdresser. Her name is May. Not only is May an aerobics lover, but she also encourages other players to join us in playing aerobics. She is also interested in photography and has a great camera. Group aerobics is not something I instigated. It was actually May's idea, and who am I to go against her wishes? I recently returned from Thailand last week. I looked back through all the footage that May took, and I counted that there were 22 players in our aerobics team over 27 days. Not one of the 22 players actually worked in a bar. In fact, as I do not drink alcohol, I did not set foot in one bar in 27 days. Half of these players were from massage shops and half came from Thai Friendly. I'm just saying this for people new to Pattaya. Don't be shy to ask massage ladies if they will be willing to massage you in your hotel, including legitimate massage shops. Ask discreetly, as their managers may not be too happy about it. Most Thai ladies use the Line app and are generally fine to give you their details so you can converse discreetly and organise a meeting at your hotel. A lot will come to the hotel before they work, so I usually invite them for a nice breakfast first. Having a buffet breakfast is a nice treat for them. So, for any newbies to Pattaya, please use the Thai Friendly app and the Add Line app as well. I would estimate that half of the ladies on Thai Friendly are looking for casual aerobics. Just check first what their expectations are for the joining fee. Good luck, everyone. That's it, Peter. Please change whatever you need to make it acceptable. Hopefully it will help some newbies have a great holiday. Okay, so a bit of a different story there. He's right about massage parlours, especially in a place like Pattaya. They're there to earn money. Another reason to be discreet with those girls is because a lot of the times when you go to a massage parlours, they have a kind of queuing system. So if there's 6 girls working that massage parlour, numbered 1 to 6, number 3 has just had a customer. The next customer that comes along should be number 4 has her turn, and then number 5, so that they earn an equal amount of money. But if a guy particularly, he takes one girl in particular, it can cause jealousy. So a lot of the time the girls like to be very discreet, and she will come to your hotel, but you need to be very discreet when you ask her. Right, let's jump into our 5th and final story this morning. And again, this is another short one. Some good advice in this story, actually. This is a story that the guys, he's sent several stories over the past year or so. And it's always his thoughts on Thailand and some very, very good advice. And living here, I can tell you that his advice is 100%. There's no BS, as they say. I'm a 66-year-old who moved from the US to Thailand almost 2.5 years ago. I lived in Hua Hin and Jomtien and been to a few other cities and the popular tourist islands. From listening to long-time expats speaking with Thai women and personal observations, I'll share some insights I've gained. Compared to some other Southeast Asian countries, Thailand isn't very Western-facing. The TV movies aren't subtitled or dubbed. The convenience stores carry sin creams and complexion lighteners aimed at a Thai market, not Scandinavian men or Kenyan girls. The Motor Vehicle Authority explains instructions and objectives of their reaction and vision tests in Thai, no matter how many expats show up for their driving exams. This is a consistent thread through many industries and cultural areas because Thailand was never colonized. This affects Thai women's preferences towards men physically, mentally, and emotionally. Especially women in the prime ages most single expat men are interested in. If you watch the TV ads and look at the billboards here, or while browsing channels you see a soap opera, you'll notice all the men are tall, slender, or athletic build, not overly muscular, even in the energy drink or sporting goods store ads, have K-pop hairstyles, parted in the middle, and are dressed in those K-pop jackets. Even on the daytime talk shows, they wear lipstick. Women aged 21 to 35 here in Thailand are not fantasizing about dating a bald, poorly dressed, hairy farang over 55, whose belly overhangs their belt line. Thais are interested in Thai food, Thai music, Asian men, Thai TikTok channels and Facebook pages, and Thai family customs. If you think it's weird to see entire families riding one motorbike, or Thais wearing layers of clothing on hot days, or on the beach, or using skin whitener, or frequenting Facebook pages where women share info about Western men they've dated, they don't care. The society isn't set up to place non-immigrants. That's why you need to show your passport to exchange currency, purchase condo Wi-Fi, or rent a jet ski. It's why you can't spend US dollars at businesses and stores here, and whereas Cambodia accepts them. It's why the ATM machines here don't dispense US dollars. In Cambodia, it's an option. I'm not saying there aren't girls here who aren't attracted to the novelty of blonde hair or blue eyes. If you're relatively young and handsome, they are. I'm saying those tastes aren't reflected in music, videos, moving, casting, or toothpaste billboards. In terms of dating, finances, and culture, there are sides of Thailand you don't see, especially if you're over 55. There are nightclubs and after-hours spots frequented solely by Thais. There are hot pot restaurants and steakhouses only popular with Asians that you won't see unless a Thai girlfriend takes you there. Many have the entire menu or the street menu depicting photos of the food in Thai. There are host bars where Thai bar staff and nightlife workers go after work and bar fine or tip Thai men who look like the guys on the billboards. There are Facebook pages and Discord channels about how to scan or live off foreign men. Not everything you don't see is negative. There are also more Thai gyms, temples, and night markets that you would never find on your own. The important thing to remember is that although tourism is a huge industry here, this isn't Jamaica or Mexico, so it's not Western facing and was never colonized by the French, Dutch, or English speaking empires. A celebrity or an athlete that's a household name in your country, pretty good chance Thais have never heard of them. No one cares what you think about them eating, seating in the lotus position, or a business that should be open being closed with no sign posted for explanation, or about wait staff not bringing everyone's food at the same time or giving you a knife. No one cares about things you can't find in stores or your opinion about risks. Thais take in traffic. They're not worried if you think it's odd that taxi drivers don't speak much English. Pretty girls aren't waiting breathlessly for you to save them. The most attractive already have foreign sponsors or have an established presence online. Some of the better educated women would never date you if there is something visible about being with you that would cause them to lose face. Contrary to what you might think, most women in Thailand have never dated a man from the West. The tourist towns and beach cities give foreigners a wrong idea on Thai women, Thai family structure and Thai business. Outside these areas, most Thai women dress moderately, date and marry Thai men, and have only a social media awareness of Western trends and personalities. So when you think it's strange when a Thai woman invites a girlfriend on your first date without telling you in advance, or is insulted when you won't try a spicy dish she ordered for herself, or doesn't finish all that food she ordered, she thinks some things you do. Eating alone, wearing shoes indoors, not showering when you take her to your condo or hotel room are strange too. Thais are very proud of being sovereign. You can hear it in the words of their national anthem. When they do Western-facing things or overlook their traditional standards of attraction or interest, it's not always a good thing. It can signal insincerity or a transactional nature of the relationship. That's not a judgment or a values comparison. When you go about your day in Thailand, shopping, dining, doing paperwork, don't compare it to Australia, Germany, or Ireland. This culture is thousands of years old, and a Thai can live their whole lives with no working knowledge of where your country is on a map. What foods it's known for, or its popular music is a safe, respectable, inexpensive country that's wonderful in many ways. The climate, the beautiful architecture, the peace of life. But it wasn't developed or designed to please a Swede or a Yank, and that's okay. Don't focus on saving a girl. Some women actually like nightlife and variety. Concentrate on adjusting, taking care of yourself, and enjoying things that don't exist in your home country. If there's inflation, tighter immigration laws, or air pollution, there are Western countries that have all those things too. Some of you literally left your country of origin to get away from immigrants. Before you met that Thai woman, she was eating usually far more times a day than the women back in your country and paying rent and sending some money home to mama and papa. If you want to supplement that, it's your choice, but there's plenty of women who are independent, not on dating apps, and would never work in the nightlife industry. You can't expect cab drivers and security guards to speak better English than they do. When many of the expats here are from Russia, India, Scandinavia or China, it's refreshing to see a culture that even in 2026 maintains its own standards and practices. Don't assume offering one of these women a monthly salary to quit their job is a no-brainer to them. They have to consider appearances, the power dynamic, and your expectations, boredom, losing the workplace friendships, possible breakup, and your attractiveness or the lack of. So I hope that helps. Okay, so that's quite interesting. Something that shocked me years ago, I mean, it really shocked me and made me sit up and kind of think about it. If you're familiar with a town like Pattaya, a lot of guys go there on holiday, they go into go-go bars, and, you can pay a bar fine and spend some time with these go-go dancers, okay? But something that shocked me was I didn't realise that there are clubs for these girls, the girls on the stage who are dancing that you can bar fine and spend time with. I didn't realise that there are clubs with these guys who are on stage, these kind of K-pop lookalikes like the guy's talking about. And a lot of these bar girls and go-go dancers, what they do after work, they go to these kind of male go-go bars, Thai male go-go bars, and they're full of Thai women, and they bar fine these guys. So they've been working all night, been bar fined by foreigners, and then at the end of the night, they go to these, I don't know how to describe them really, they're go-go bars, but with Thai guys on the stage, and they sit with these guys, they buy them drinks, they give them money. I just thought that was really, really weird. I couldn't really get my head around it, but it is true. I did a bit of research. I thought it was a wind-up at first, but that does happen. Okay, right, that's it. A very long upload this week, I think. I hope you enjoyed the stories. As always, if you have a story, it doesn't have to be from Thailand. It can be from anywhere in the world, as long as it's quirky, interesting. Send it to me. I'll change names. I'll make it anonymous. Nobody will know who you are. And you too can enjoy listening to your story right here on Thailand Bound. Thanks again for listening, guys. And I'll catch you with some more stories next Saturday.